Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk with the Titans, live from London, UK, all the way to the US of A and worldwide. I'm your host, Kalam L, and this is Talk with the Titans. On tonight's show, we've got the Rabbi Harry Rozenberg in the studios with us. Shalom Aleichem, Ak.
Aleichem shalom, brother.
You know what? It's wonderful to actually have you back in the studio again. I know you was with us on Monday on Talk with the Titans when we had the brother Polight in. This is brother Polight, the person that Rabbi Harry Rozenberg is going against on the March 20th Day of Atonement debate. It's going to be phenomenal, groundbreaking debate. On that show, Polight showed his excitement, his interest to being a part of this phenomenal event. I want to know what actually intrigued you, interested you, excited you to actually take this debate, and also what do you hope to achieve from this debate as well?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, and I definitely did notice Polight's excitement, brother Polight's excitement, and it's reciprocated on my side. I'm equally excited, which is what makes this whole thing exciting, I guess. There's a few levels of why I had interest in accepting this, what you call debate. I can call a conversation. I'm not sure what it'll be after it's all done, said and done. But there's so many levels. One is that you have this revolution in America now, or not even America, the African diaspora, where there's an identity consciousness revolution movement where they're regaining their former glory, and it's a beautiful process to see and witness. But I do see what's going on in Nigeria today with the Israelite revolution as well. There's a lot of Igbo folks and communities who are returning to what they say themselves, no one else saying, their original roots, and they're coming out and they're practicing and they're learning and they're teaching and they're building. And now you see in America that a lot of the people who came there also were from these regions, and now they're trying to invoke biblical prophecies and say that they're fulfilling something and doing something great, which I believe is actually happening. So I think there's also a battle going on of who's who and what's what, and there's a lot of opposing sides. So I got excited to say, hey, I do believe some of these people are actually my brethren. I'd like to come in and contribute what I can say to help reinforce their return to what may be their ancestral heritage. So for me, that was exciting to be a team player on that whole thing. And secondly, on a more of a metaphysical level, not just a geopolitical narrative, is we all know this is public information. Brother Polight identifies with Egyptian, I don't know the word, mysticism or wisdom, and he brings to the table that he may be a spiritual reincarnation or the spiritual energy of the Pharaoh of the spiritual hierarchy of Egypt. And for me, off the bat, that was just exciting because I'm coming here. I live in my own little world of Torah study and my pursuit towards light and truth. And we study about Egypt and we study about the battle and we study about the future, what's going to happen and how they're all going to culminate together. And when I put all that together and I see that we have a scenario today to bring up this topic again, go face to face, that was exciting for me. And my Hebrew name is actually Tzvi Yoel, and the only other the only other time in the Torah that the word Yoel is mentioned is Vayoel Moshe, and Moshe, and it's translated as Moshe pleaded, Moshe requested, Moses requested, and the Babylonian Aramaic translation of that word is Tzvi. So, long story short, my Hebrew name invokes the energy of Moses. Am I comparing myself to Moses in this whole thing? Absolutely not. I'm actually not so learned compared to my peers. I've been studying Torah for 10 plus years, heavy day in, day out. But this is an 80-year, 90-year journey to really master it. So I can't compare myself to Moses, but I could say that the energy I'm trying to bring to the table would try to be a representative of what Moses may have tried to bring to the table in this conversation. So here we have it. We have someone who claims to be from Egyptian mysticism as the Pharaoh. We have someone who has this Moses energy, and him coming face to face in such a dark generation where everyone's searching for light and truth. There can't be a more appropriate setting to have this conversation. So if it was another case, I see a lot of questions on your Facebook page. People are asking me, would you debate a Hebrew Israelite, or would you debate the... I'm not really interested in debating anyone. I don't think that's the way out of this mess. I would build with them. I wouldn't debate with them. I'd have a nice conversation. But these, the Egyptian and Torah-based cultures, I really think they're speaking about a lot of the same things, but they're coming from two totally different points of views. One being, the ego, and one being the humble self-nullification. So I would gladly play the role right now to, to hit the ball back in the court of the ego and see what it has to say to me.
I love that. Wow. Okay. So we're getting a comparison right now, you know what, of the Pharaoh, the Egyptians. You know what? I kind of see it as, will Harry Rosenberg, the posterity of Moses, the spiritual posterity of Moses, will he be able to fight and defeat the Pharaoh? And will he allow or make Pharaoh let his people go free? As the Pharaoh got the Hebrew Israelites and the community out there underneath a spell of ego and illusions. And is Harry Rosenberg the guy to come and finally break that spell and show the people the right way to move as a people in unity, even uniting the Hebrews with the Commissions, and have a mass exodus out of Babylon, so to speak. This is to me, this is an epic event. This is a biblical event, to be honest. And for you, those of you who are tuning in right now, please hit the share button down below. Just hit the share button down below, and just share this link. Share the link, because you know what? We've just started. We've just come on live. I know we're a few minutes behind the time, but yeah, just share the link and let everybody know we're here right now. We're live. We got the Rabbi Harry Rosenberg in with us right now, and we're going to go through some powerful information. I know the Rabbi has got some information that he wants to talk about, the spirituality that's found within inside of the Torah, and how we can build each other up instead of tearing each other down. So this is going to be a very powerful show that we've got in store for you. So please hit the share button, and if you're loving the information that you're hearing so far, please give us a big thumbs up. Let us know you're loving the information. Please don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. Don't hate on your brother. Just hit the share button and hit the like button, and just let us know, let us know in the comment section as well that we're doing a good job, or what you would like to see, what changes you would like to have, and what questions you may have for the Rabbi as well. Because trust and believe, I'm going to be answering, or should I say, I'll be asking the Rabbi all your questions today, no matter how intrusive they are. All right. So you know what? I see that you have a title, which is called Rabbi. And, for a lot of us, we're not coming from the Jewish or the Hebraic faith, and we don't know exactly what a rabbi is. Can you just give us some insight from the Hebrew, what a rabbi is, or a rabbi is, and its duties, roles, its responsibilities? How does one actually become a rabbi? What merits does a rabbi actually hold? What powers do they hold? So if you could just, give us a summary of that, that would be perfect.
Oh man, this is a great opportunity to have this conversation. So thanks for asking that question. We're in this generation. There should be no misinformation. Everyone should be very clear on what's what. That's for sure. So I have the title Rabbi on me, right? So what does that mean? So if you look at the story of the Bible, which some people listening may believe in right now, some people may not believe in, but for all intents and purposes, I'm telling you what we're saying. You have the story of the Bible where you have a Moses and this revelation in the desert where the people of Israel got a Torah, a divine code from the creator of the universe. And immediately, we start to see that Moses passed on the Torah to Joshua, and Joshua passed it on, so forth, and it got to the prophets and the courts of Israel and to the kings of Israel, and this code passed on. And we believe there was a written law and an oral law explaining the written law. Because if anyone tries to take the written law and understand what it's saying at face value, they're going to dance in circles and just use their own self-interpretation and come into conclusions with other groups and parties. So this information was passed on generation from generation. So it happens to be that I am a rabbi. I means I studied Torah under someone who actually could trace his teacher back, all the way back, every single generation, all the way back to the kings of Israel, to the prophets of Israel, to Moses. And this is not just an internal secret. There's published websites right now that actually list every single name on this transmission, where they lived, what city they lived in, what works they contributed to. They were either the advisors to the kings as far as financials, or they were the doctors, physicians towards the kings. You can come up with some conspiracies around that, that's for sure. But there's no question that throughout history, as far as the Spanish Golden Empire, Rome, Greek, all the way even back to ancient Egypt, there were Israelites present. And so throughout that whole history, we actually can trace who were the individual humans who were responsible for passing on certain codes of information. And throughout history, if there was an individual who tried to pass on some information that wasn't verified by something people learned from their father in their schools, that book would get burnt, and that person would get excommunicated from the community. So now you see today in the consciousness community, there's this term which I don't use so often in my life, but I see it's very used often in the consciousness community, is pseudo, right? Pseudoscience or pseudo information. And so what the checks and balances system that declared me a rabbi didn't allow anything pseudo, basically, because it was a nation effort. So when there was a book written, the whole nation vetted that book, whether it was in the 1300s, the 800s, the 500s, before the Common Era, etc. We have that transmission mapped out. So that being said, now that I am a rabbi, that I'm a recipient of this information, what does that mean? I could be some evil guy who's really smart and studied this stuff. And, I said, yeah, I learned the information. I got it, right? So that could be me. How do you know I'm righteous? So the term rabbi doesn't declare someone righteous. It doesn't make someone a righteous human. There's actually schools of thought within spiritual Torah Judaism that declares there's a concept of an evil rabbi, a rabbi who's actually drawing his power from the other side, not from the side of holiness. And we have to be very careful who we appoint our spiritual leaders. So a rabbi doesn't impress me. A smart person doesn't impress me. A righteous person impresses me. And there's no real system in Judaism to get, a stamp upon yourself that you're righteous. That's a humble thing. That's between you and the Most High in your community. So the fact that I'm a rabbi means I have certain information, but how I apply it to the world will depend if I'm a righteous guy or if I'm an evil guy. And that, that's up for the community to tell me. I have family, friends, and I'm building with your community, and we'll all put that on the table and decide. And this is going to continue. This has never stopped, and it'll continue until we hopefully reach a point where we won't need this information anymore. We could be spiritual beings without needing instructions. You don't have to tell someone who walks into a dark room to turn on the light. So why do we have to tell humans not to kill, right? It should be common sense for us. We'll get there one day.
Wow. See, this is what I love right here. Now, our brother's going to go into the metaphysics of the Bible. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't even say the Bible. It's going to go into the metaphysics of the Torah, the Tanakh. I can't wait for that because we could hear the snippets, the droplets of this actually right now. But you know what? Just building on that, because we're talking about information and teaching and learning and being endowed with, a rabbiship, so to speak, and allowing the whole community to actually authorize you in this position. So I would like to know, because you've got a Theological Institute. I believe that's an online university. Could you just give us some more information about that?
Right. So what I did was, you have a lot of educators out there amongst the Torah scholars, but they're not really trying to hit the streets and publicize their information. Like I'm saying, they're humble guys sitting in their own corners. And I was able to seek out this information and learn from certain individuals who I felt this information would be beneficial for mankind. And since these people aren't going out there spreading the word, I thought I could try to be a middleman and take the highest level of information from my people, literally filter the kernel from the chaff, leave out what's bad and take what's precious and deliver it to the people. So what I was able to do was bring the highest level of academic works of the Jewish world into the college level platform, where we have courses online for college credits, college accreditation. We have partnerships with different universities all over the country where people can now learn the highest levels of Jewish pure thought, which you're not going to find on Google, you're not going to find on YouTube, because it's been preserved very tightly. And I'm bringing it to the world, and we have a model, a sustainable model that could, save students money, but also bring in revenues. And from those revenues, we channel that back into our non-for-profit network of mapping out the tribes of Israel and etc. So, you have to have this combination of for-profit and non-for-profit in your life, because while you hear Brother Polight talking, obviously there's a lot of financing going on in the conversations, which I respect. Everyone's got to do their thing. But I moved to Israel, for a reason. I was trying to get out, cash off the dollar, go into a more sustainable lifestyle where I have land, I've got goats and chickens, we're making our own food. So I'm trying to believe in that lifestyle, and through my ventures promote it.
Excellent. I need to get 10 up right about now. This is good information, but I still need to get a bit 10 up right now. You know what? It's the Day of Atonement. That's the day, I believe it's called Yom Kippur, with inside of the Hebraic teachings, Yom meaning day, Kippur meaning
atonement, right?
Atonement, of course. So it's the Day of Atonement that's been taking place. And that is the day that, Israel come together to actually repent for their sins. And from the way I see it, The brother Polight is going in there with one mission and one mission alone in regards to yourself, and that is to make you atone for your sins. It's to make you repent for your sins, to make your nation repent for their sins. I want to know, you know what, are you going to be the one repenting, or will you turn up the heat? Will you turn up the heat on the brother Polight and make him repent for all of his wrongs and misdeeds he said against the Torah, against the debates that's had with Tazariak, against the debates he's had with other Hebrew Israelite camps as well? You know what? Who is actually going to atone on that day?
You know, it's a great question. It's actually fascinating that they named it the Day of Atonement, because I was 100% not involved in that name. But once they named it that, it was an immediate sign to me that I was on the right path. And I like to give a little behind the scenes on why I felt that. And there's two sides to this. One is, you said it in Hebrew, Yom Kippur, right? That's the Day of Atonement in Hebrew. So in Hebrew, Kippur, there's actually a holiday coming up next week, which is a few days after the debate, a Jewish holiday called Purim. I don't know if everyone heard of it, but they could look it up. It's the story of how the people of Israel were saved under the Persian rulership when they wanted to wipe out the people of Judah and Israel. And there was an infiltration into the kingdom by a queen, a Judean queen. And she was able to pull her strings with the king, and she turned over the decree to wipe out the people of Israel. And she saved the day, and to save the Torah and the people of Israel. And they continued. And right after the story, people from 127 nations joined the people of Israel, from Africa to India. They all joined together. So it's a fascinating story, but it's called Purim, right? So Yom Kippur, which means atonement, actually in Hebrew means like, because ki is like Purim. So it's the day like Purim. So actually in Jewish mysticism, we say the holiday of Purim is higher in a spiritual level than the actual Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement evokes, it shines towards, it points an arrow towards Purim, which is actually the week, 2 or 3 days right after the debate. So these gentlemen, these fine folks, named the name of the event after the holiday. Literally, that's that week. I don't think they had a clue about that. Bringing in a very, very powerful mystical element to the whole thing. Not only that, that week is my bar mitzvah portion, the portion of Torah that I read when I was 13 when I entered the congregation of Israel. So they're catching me in my spiritual element that week as well, which I didn't think they planned on either. I'm going to bring this all up at the debate as well, but give everyone a little foreshadow to that. But now I'm gonna say one thing also fascinating, which what I'm gonna say right now may blow everyone's mind, and they're gonna want to get a pen and paper and write this down and do a little research what I'm about to say. So the
Hold on, my brother. Hold on, everybody, please. Did you just hear what the rabbi just said? Please grab your pen and paper, because this is gonna be ground-shattering information that you're about to receive. Hit the pause button and replay this again and again. All right, continue.
Right. It's very interesting. So the story of Purim was written down, over 2,000 years ago, after it happened, well over two, and that story was passed on from generation to generation. It's called the Book of Esther, and it was preserved throughout time in the Hebrew language. And actually, the Torah scribes, the Torah commentators say it was one of the deepest books, one of the most mystical and coded books of the Hebrew writings. And in that book, towards the end, you have an evil man named Haman, who was from the people of Amalek, who tried to wipe out the children of Israel. And at the end, he kind of gets exposed for what he was doing. The king didn't take favor to him anymore, and they were going to hang his 10 sons. And they hang his 10 sons on the gallows that they built actually for Judeans, for the people of Israel. They built gallows for them. And the gallows that they built for the people of Israel, they got hung on as 10 sons. So the verses in Hebrew that are written in the book of Esther, when we hang the 10 sons, in those verses, there's 4 letters that are smaller than the rest of the letters in the writings. And this is found across the board for the last 2,000 years in every single copy, that was ever recorded. In the writings and the laws, the Jewish laws, these 4 letters have to be small. And no one really knew why. There's a lot of things in Torah law that you don't question, like like the burning of the red calf, why a red cow we have to have, It's called a law that's irrational. We don't understand it. And now all of a sudden you have this story where we have people writing letters small. So what does it mean? All of a sudden in the Holocaust, right? The Holocaust is a controversial topic. I understand, who benefited from it, what happened. There's a lot of back and forth, which we'll discuss about. But at the end of the Holocaust, there was actually these trials where they're hanging Nazis, war criminals, and they hung 10 Nazis, right? And when they were being hung, one of them said, before he was getting hung, he said Purim Fest, right? He put out his hand and he said Purim Fest, and they hung him. So it turns out in the Hebrew years that we're counting since Adam, that year in the Hebrew years was the letters that were written small in the Torah in the book of Esther for 2,000 years, beforehand written small. So what I just said may be confusing, but I'll break it down in a 10 to 30-second breakdown. Was basically there was this legend that was preserved, these letters that would have a future implication that for 2,000 years plus years, no one had a clue. And all of a sudden in the mid 1900s, the same scenario was reenacted. 10 people were hung on the same exact year that those letters were small. Now we're in the year 5776 from Adam, we believe. So in the year that those letters were small, that was the year that these people were hung. And as these Nazi Germans were hung, he screamed out Purimfest. And now, so did these people know that they were actually making an ancient legend, something that was preserved for 2,000 years, come to life? Were they aware of it? Or were they just, coincidentally aligning themselves with something? So, I'm going to circle back to the conversation now that Brother Polight, they're calling it the Day of Atonement. They're bringing back in this Purim story without even realizing it's aligning at the same time. This is another example of, some higher, energy guiding. There's a theme or something, I believe. So I don't know if what I said makes sense to everyone, but if they need a links or something, they could always follow up. I actually have a built-in timeline that people could reference, where I put all these dates and these stories and the links to references on them. It's actually, the website is www.itribe.us/timeline, itribe.us/timeline. You, Brother Kalam, you could also pull it up if you want to see in the future a timeline of the Israelite narrative and this story encoded. And so as it was going for 2,000 plus years, it's now continuing. So that's how I feel.
Wow. Okay. Can everybody hear me? Yep. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. All right. So we've got this debate coming up. March the 20th, the Day of Atonement. So far, all we know is going to be the Israelite narrative and the Jewish Torah on trial and a cross-examination of ancient Egypt. That's what we've been told so far about the debate. But I want to know from you, because you're behind the scenes, you're speaking with everybody. I want to know, what is the debate really going to be about? What are the topics that are up for discussion on this debate? Give us some exclusives, please.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I do appreciate that question also. As everyone knew, we spoke about a month or something ago and we still weren't sure. Now I guess we have a rough draft of the kind of topics, but as many topics as we want to come up with, I think there's only one topic, and all conversations are included in that one topic. And that's, the topic of reality. What's real? Are these Egyptian gods real? Is the God of Israel real? What do we do about the condition humans find themselves in based on our understandings of these doctrines? We're going to speak about the past, the future. So it's going to be an all-inclusive, conversation. I believe that Brother Polight's made it very clear that he's going to use me as an example for the white race potentially, and have a conversation between his people and, so to say, my people, and have a public conversation, which I think can end up very healthy. So this is going to be all inclusive. This is going to be geopolitics, spirituality, mysticism, religion, everything and anything. But I guess between us, the frameworks has to do with comparing and contrasting Egyptian culture and wisdom to Torah culture and wisdom, and their implications today, if I had to sum it up in a sentence.
Excellent. And I've got some, behind the scenes overviews. So as you just mentioned, what was the nature of spiritual worship of the Egyptian people, as well as that of the people of Israel following the Exodus. Number 2, is the Torah a man-made book or an encoded document with a supreme wisdom not matched by modern science? That's number 2. That's a powerful topic. I can't wait to hear that. Number 3, can the unification of the global African diaspora be found within the Torah's narrative? Number 4, is the Torah a valid blueprint or map to a global redemption plan? Number 5, a thorough breakdown of the afterlife as conveyed by the Egyptians and or Israelites. So that's, there's some powerful topics that could potentially be up for discussion and debate. And I can't wait to hear this. I can't wait to hear this information. You know what? Do I go into this right now, or should I ask some questions? Audience members, let me know. Should we go into the discourse that Harry has got lined up to do with the spirituality that's found within inside of the Torah, or would you like to have your questions answered real quickly? I could only ask about 2-3 more questions before we get into this. Let me know if you want your question answered down below in the comment sections. Just let me know. I'm going to be waiting for your replies. Okay, so just to actually ask one of the questions, we've got so many questions that are flooding through on the Facebook. Let me get to one really quickly. I see we have so many. All right. Can you, Harry, specifically demonstrate how worshiping the God of the Bible has been beneficial to people of African descent as a whole? And that question is coming from the brother Kedrick Smith.
That's a great question. I'm going to answer that in a way that may not be understood, but then I'll clarify. The worshiping the God of Israel through the version of the Bible has been horrible for the people of Africa. And that's because the Bible was given to them by the church, which took an ancient Hebraic text, which was created on actually the continent of Africa, and written in indigenous language, and then filtered through a Greek Latin translation into a church of people who clearly had no values of the book they were translating, then fed back to the people who may have once originally owned that book. So you're going to have to show me very small case examples where actual Torah culture was embedded in African culture. And you could see that today amongst certain tribes in Igbo, definitely Uganda. There's communities out there in Kenya, especially Zimbabwe with the Lemba tribe. And so that's definitely beautiful results. They're already linking up. They're doing, they need some help. You got communities around the world assisting them. There's a conversation where they're not alone in their little village. So there's a total global movement going on with the Torah, which is definitely taking people off the Bible.
Okay. So, you know what? I can sense already that you're completely anti-Bible, the church, so to speak. I want to know where does our Christian and our Messianic brothers and sisters go wrong when it comes to the Hebrew Israelite or the Israelite paradigm? Is the acceptance of Jesus Christ or Yeshua HaMashiach or Yeshu, according to the Talmud, is that where the community is going wrong by accepting and worshiping this character named Jesus? I want to know, because you evidently are a Torah-based individual and you do not accept, I would assume, the New Testament and the Jesus paradigm. I want to know, are our brothers and sisters going wrong with accepting Yeshu or Yeshua as the Messiah?
Right. Great question. I try not to use the words shouldn't, couldn't, or wouldn't in my lexicon, my vocabulary. So I don't like to say, they were doing the wrong thing or et cetera, because, we could break down right now the nature of a false messianic movement called Christianity. We could also break down the spiritual purpose it may have served in the world. So just because it isn't what is true, it doesn't mean it didn't serve a purpose now that it already happened. So people shouldn't be despaired, that they're caught up in something that's false. They should know that they're playing their role, but now there's a time of information where we can, realign that role towards the next evolution of itself. And so Torah, we believe that now you got a couple billion people around the world talking about the house of King David, the messianic future redemption that will be provided by this one bloodline that traces to one king from this little piece of land smaller than the size of New Jersey. So that's a phenomenon. That's fascinating. So clearly there's a purpose in that, because everyone's kind of been debriefed around the world, prepared for something. But it came through this underground hidden path. And it's not going to be for this radio show, but when we're going to go forward, we'll speak about, the mysticism of Judaism, how we speak that the messianic light, which we could trace. I have a lecture online called The Lost Tribes of Israel and the Purpose of Reality on YouTube, where you could trace the messianic light from Adam to the future and what it had to go through and how it had to get hidden and why it had to get hidden and the whole nature behind it. And I break it down in very understandable terms that will not go over anyone's head whatsoever for the slightest moment. We can go through that, and you understand that when the second temple was destroyed in Jerusalem, even possibly after the first one, that the light of Israel was hidden. It went amongst the nations of the world, and it manifested itself in other cultures and other people. So we believe for sure there's three things that have to happen in order for the declaration of a messianic era. One is you have to have, and this is according to scripture. Yeah, you're going to have a temple that was built in Jerusalem for all men, color, religion, it doesn't matter. This is all humans. This is a place where humans could show up equal and access spirituality. That is the golden axiom of the future. If we're not there, there's no messianic conversation. Secondly is you have to have no war. There's got to be no weapons. There's got to be no reason for fighting. If that's not happening, then we're not in the messianic era. Third is you have to have the tribes, the house of Israel united, which we know they're scattered around the world, potentially in South America, North America, Africa, Asia, Europe, all the way to Japan and the coast, etc. We're global. If there's not a unity between that ancient family, we're also not in this messianic era. So these three things have to so to say, put a check next to them on the checklist, and then we could declare ourselves in this era. So anything until then, we're selling ourselves short. If you're going to get raised believing that you're all good, the Redeemer came already, he's absolved your sins, then who's going to try to be the Redeemer? Who's going to try to hustle? I respect Brother Polight. He's trying to redeem his people at least. He's not bought. He's not sold that it already happened. He's saying, no, we got to hustle and we got to bring our people out of the situation we're in. So I believe that if you have this Jesus, so to say, notion or this concept of a Redeemer that came, then we're all absolved from doing the work, and I believe the entities that created that character wanted us to feel that we don't have to do the work. So I'm not having it for a second.
Wow. That's going to shake a lot of Hebrew Israelites up. You know what? As well, because within inside of the Hebrew paradigm, is there still a continuation of Nebuah or Nabis that are still visiting mankind, or did that literally stop at the last book of the Old Testament, which I believe is Malachi, right?
Right. That's when we believe prophecy ended. Throughout time, there were commentators who say prophecy does return to the future shortly before the Messianic era. And they say it returns to children, and the word in Hebrew I think is tipshim, or idiots, so to say. People who don't seem intelligent but actually are out there. You would judge them and say this guy's not with it, but really he's actually tapping into something. Even certain schools of thought even say certain movies today are subconsciously, without even realizing, implying certain levels of prophecy, whether it be the Matrix or Harry Potter, where there's this light versus darkness and galactic battles of evil and all these things going on. These are actually, Star Wars. These are things where people are taking actual principles going on in the metaphysical, the spiritual realms today and putting them in movie format, which is interesting. And we do believe that although prophecy has disappeared and reappear, there are sages, like I said, throughout the history of the chain, where we believe they had revelations either from, learning, from higher level spirits, ascending to spiritual plateaus. There's a concept of learning with Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet was one character in the Tanakh who was believed not to have ever died. He ascended to heaven alive. So, now that he never died, what happened to him? Did he disappear from history? So it's not like something you could just claim I learned with Elijah, but throughout history, I can name off my hand, 5 to 8 people in the last 2,000 years who we teach actually had the revelation of Elijah the prophet and were responsible for transmitting the Torah. And so that for me is interesting because people question, say this is, your rabbihood is man-made. It's egos putting their own law on the Most High. So actually, from our point of view, just as much as we believe the times of the prophets were divinely inspired, so too we believe we have divine inspiration today as well.
Powerful. And what? Speaking on that line of or trail of thought, what do you also say to the detractors that would simply say that your teaching is simply a watered down version of Kemetic or ancient Egyptian thought, being that your founding prophet, your founding teacher, lawgiver, as it is, Moshe, was actually school taught and raised up in the household of Pharaoh himself. The wisdom he was learnt in, according to the New Testament or the first and second century writers, states that Moses got his wisdom from the ancient Egyptians. You also have the first century to second century BC in the other Aramaic writings that speak about Moses actually being an incarnation of certain Egyptian deities, or using certain Egyptian deities to manifest certain miracles within side of the Jewish paradigm. What would you say to the detractors that saying that these stories are simply a watered down version, an amalgamated version of ancient Egyptian thought given to the Hebrew populace?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that question. I'll definitely tell anyone who has that thought to, buckle up and be on standby and to watch the debate. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to break down the nature of Egyptian culture and worship to its finest scientific detail, to the most minute point where you can get it in a few sentences. Then I'm going to show what existed similar in the Israelite worship, correct? And then I'm going to show how these are actually indigenous, rights for all humanity. This wisdom, which is, you can't have anyone say, "I got here first, this is mine," when it's really, it's like the companies who bottle water today. We're like, who are you to bottle the water and sell it to me, right? So who is a culture to have access, exclusive rights to information that's true? So we're gonna break down. I'm gonna break down. Probably gonna shock some, Commission scientists, some Jews at the same time. I'm gonna break down the exact nature of culture back then to a few sentences, and it'll have a lot of shock value, and we'll understand right away that there's no who came first conversation here. It's what are we gonna do going forward with this information.
Okay. And on the whole topic of who came first, you know what? A lot of people simply want to hear this come out of your mouth. And this question is the African, is the black man the original man on planet Earth? And if he is the original man on planet Earth, does that make him the same complexion, the same personage as Adam and every other race preceded from the original black man?
Obviously, modern day science today, we all know, points to say the first humans emerged out of Africa. That's very clear. Simultaneously, you have a lot of schools of thought amongst the conscious community that because I'm white skinned or I have no melanin, that I'm a lower functioning human being physically. And you know what I thought about that? And if that's true, I'm actually okay with that. I don't mind being a lower functioning physical body. I believe our souls are carved from the same place. I have as much access to light. But, like if it's a race and this guy's driving a Ferrari and I'm driving a Toyota, I may be a better driver. So I'm okay being in this body that may not have melanin. I've accepted that maybe melanin's a greater blessing than not having melanin. That's beautiful. That does not reflect on my soul or the quality of my, intellectual or spiritual contributions I can make towards this world. I may have other effects, but I don't know how much it affects my soul. Secondly is, sorry to interrupt. Secondly is, I see a lot of the people in the conscious community base a lot of their stuff on science and archaeology, etc. I'm not one to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I for sure know that there's a lot of agendas and self-motivated decisions made in the world of archaeology with the institutions that actually have access to certain sites, and they're the ones who repackage and tell the story of what they found and let us know things that they found, and sometimes hide things that they found and don't let us know. So we gotta have a lot more transparency in the world of archaeology and history before. So the institutions that we're trusting now to make some of these decisions, I believe, are very corrupt, and we'll have to go through a reform. So at the end of the day, if someone, I'd like to hear if someone asks if my opinion is if the original human is or isn't that, from Africa, then what are they trying to get out of it? So what's your point now? I guess the question, but what do you want to know now that we've established that?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. And most of us are familiar with the original creation story, from a biblical, a Western Christianic standpoint. But I want to know, because we've got the source with us right now. Does the Jewish community hold that the Adam, of the Bereshith, or the first book, which is Genesis, was he the first human being on earth, or was there other human beings on earth? I know we read in other books, I believe it is the Kabbalistic text, maybe the Zohar. We read about Lilith, his first wife, being, him having a first wife called Lilith. Then we find out about him having a second wife, which is Eve. So I want to know: was there people on earth prior to Adam, or was Adam literally the very first person on this earth 6,000 years ago?
It's a great question. You know what? For the most part, for the Jewish people, if I could speak on behalf of them now, which I usually don't, this is not one of their main concerns to get to the bottom of that, to figure that out, because it doesn't have too much relevance on their current situation of we've got the Torah, we have to upkeep it, we have to learn it, we have to pass it on, we have to be these type of humans right now to survive. So all these things are like luxury metaphysical conversations that are saved for the spiritual schools of thought, which they do have those conversations, and these are very spiritual topics. What we do know is, before the time of Adam, there was 5 days of creation, and for a few of those days, there wasn't even a sun and a moon. So how are you calling it a day? What was really going on? Because a day is now 24 hours because we have a rotation around the sun and the moon. If there is no sun and a moon and you're calling something a day, what's mapping that day out? Is it 24 hours or is it a couple of billion years? So these are the type of thoughts that the spiritual schools will discuss and throw out there, and say, maybe Adam wasn't the first human, but the first human with a soul, or we can't know for sure, but these are ideas or contributions people are making. There's also another thing to say, we look at the half-life of things today and say, hey, this thing goes back a couple trillion years, a couple billion years, or a couple 100 million years. But also the truth is, we believe that there was this crazy flood that happened with sulfuric acid, hot boiling water in the time of Noah. Now we know if anything goes through that type of treatment, it'll age it. It'll go through some aging period. So is the half-life aging, concept today, is that accurately depicting the age of something, or did it go through some type of trauma that made it age this much? So there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of questions that could be asked. But again, these are luxury conversations. Once you got peace, you got food, you're good, you got community, all, then you can start to dive into these topics and conversation. If we're living in despair and we got hard life and these things, we're in poverty and we got to get out of our current situation, we don't have room to fight over such nuances.
Well said. Well said. You know what? For those of you again who are tuning in new to the show right now and you don't have a clue about Talk of the Titans, let me just give you a quick run through. Talk of the Titans was literally created, birthed out of the idea that the intellectual giants, the titans of the community, should have a well-organized platform to present, discuss, and debate critical information affecting our community, proposed by you, our audience members, our community. So right about now, we've had such a large influx of people that's been messaging me to say we need to have the Rabbi Harry Rozenberg in. We've just heard Polight speak to us on Monday. Let's hear Harry Rozenberg give us his diatribe on the whole debate and how he thinks about Polight, etc., etc., etc. So we've got the Rabbi in, and if you've got any questions that you want to ask the Rabbi right now, please leave them in the comment section right now. I'm reading the comment section and definitely going to ask the Rabbi your questions. So you know what, Rabbi, I know you want to go into the spirituality of the Torah, and I don't want to stop you. I literally don't want to stop you. But I want to ask you one or two more questions more. So I want to ask everybody to please just leave your comments so I can quickly ask him the questions before he goes into the spirituality of the Torah, the spiritual teachings of the Torah. Okay, soon come. All right. So, could you just, give us an overview of what you're going to be discussing today?
Right. I actually want to let people know kind of a little about my lifestyle, myself, what spiritual practices I'm teaching, where I'm finding them from the Torah, how I think, that could ripple off into other cultures and nations and see value in them. I think it's just a lot of misinformation what it means to be a Jew or to observe the Torah, to be orthodox or religious. So I'm just really want to break down my day to day and spiritual, values that are incorporated throughout it.
Okay, cool. You know what? I think I'm going to ask these last two questions right now. And this question is, um, what is the link that shows your ancestry is connected all the way back to Moses?
Mm.
And are the black people the true Israelites?
That's a
Okay,
good
no.
question. I'd
Yeah,
go with that.
yeah.
So I never said my ancestry, as I said my teachers go back to Moses. And there's actually a lot of websites. I can tell you what to Google if you want. You can Google words like the chain of Torah. In Hebrew, it's Shalshelet, Shalshet, I believe, Shalshelet. Um, yeah, something like that. And Shalshelet Torah in Hebrew, and it'll show you the rabbis or the scholars from literally the person who gave it to me all the way back to Moses. And each one of them actually not only has their own Wikipedia pages, they have contributions in the academic world, sciences, and medicines that you can read about. These are all personalities that were known. It spans from Babylon to North Africa to Italy to Spain to the Americas, back to Israel right now. So that's one thing, and it's a very humbling thing. It's actually a blessing from Jacob to Judah that he's going to hold on to the scepter of the law until Shiloh comes. And Shiloh in Hebrew is the numerical value of the word Mashiach, which means Redeemer. So we say that the tribe of Judah will have an uninterrupted transmission of law all the way until the Redeemer. Now, which brings into the questions about the Hebrew Israelites, right? They came from Africa to America, fulfilling potentially the prophecies in Deuteronomy that you're going to go again on ships as slaves, which I believe is a wonderful alignment, and I believe that is 100% happening. I'm all about that. But I don't think that means that the whole entire group of the house of Israel was involved in that one prophecy. I still think we were scattered to four corners of the earth throughout different waves throughout the last 2,700 years. So that being the case, the two don't contradict each other. The fact that there was an uninterrupted line of Torah teachings all the way till today, and the fact that certain humans played a role in the slave trade from the tribe of Judah, it could be true. Those two don't have to contradict each other. And anyone who comes to that conclusion isn't basing that off scripture or anything logical. That's based off emotion. So yes, I could trace my rabbi all the way back to Moses without skipping a generation or a city. And yes, the people who came from Africa, yes, seem to be very likely the fulfilling prophecy of the people of Israel. Let's do something about that.
And you know what? I can't go again without asking you this question. You know what? I've got a brother called Makali Namarafu, and he asks, you know what, Harry, are you a Zionist?
Oh, it's a great question. Absolutely not. I don't actually put any label or modern term upon myself. I'm a very ancient soul. And actually, at the debate, I'm going to dissect that term and I'm going to disassociate it from my people, because we don't deserve any words upon ourselves that resemble political movements. So, in no shape or form will I be put in any box with a word.
Okay. Great. I know you want to speak out. I know that you want to speak out against certain groups of people who are part of, the Zionist movement, the Illuminati style movement. Are you against, these, Rothschilds, these Bilderbergs, these Freemasons? Are you against these people? Are you against them? That's the question. Do you align yourself with them? Are you against them, or are you a bit on the fence?
I guess with this conversation, you really only have one opportunity to really say what you feel about it before before you go on to any other side. So I'm gonna say you guys got to wait till the debate to hear my take on this whole thing, because it's really a thing, and I do have a take on it. So I'm not what they call buck dancing or dance around this question. I'm saying this question will be addressed at the debate. Uh, yeah, mark my words, and for everyone can understand for very strategic reasons, I can't say anything about it now. But you'll all be seeing me in under 2 weeks, live in the flesh, speaking about this topic. But I will say is I'm gonna go with the side of truth. I'm not gonna align with anything that's not true. So we're gonna put out collective truths out there, me and Brother Polight. and we'll come to some conclusions. So if anyone thinks, or for a split second, that I'm saying something or doing something that doesn't have the side of truth on it, mark my words, you can call me out. So, like I said, everyone, please buckle up.
All right, all right, all right. I can't wait for this debate. Because I've got my brother as well, Stephen Graham, EP Global. He's definitely going to be making a trip out to Israel in the next coming weeks or month, and I know he's coming down there to see the good rabbi as well, and hopefully as well. I know I've been planning this trip to go to Israel for some time now, and I'm hoping to actually make it out to Israel. I'm definitely planning on coming to see the good rabbi and Polight on this March 20th debate. This is the March 20th debate, the Day of Atonement. And if anybody would like to view, if you're over here in the UK or in Europe or everywhere else and you want to actually view this on the live stream, please visit the 2012stores.com to purchase your tickets. I believe the tickets are only $25 for the live stream. And obviously, if you want to sit down, up front, in person, up close, I know there is going to be a whole entourage of celebrities that's going to be attending. I'm sure Loaded Lux, B. Dot, Smack from Smack URL is going to be there. There's going to be a whole host of individuals that's going to be coming in. A few special guests, surprise guests attending. So please book your tickets real early because they're £30 if you book it now. If you book early right now, it's going to be a reduced price because come time when it's time to actually pay on the door, you're not even going to be guaranteed your space, your chair practically. So please book early and show up and turn up. All right. So Harry, you know what? Before you actually go in, please, again, everybody who's watching this, literally share this link with everybody and let everybody know Harry Rozenberg is about to go in on the spiritual teachings of the Torah. He's going to be teaching you how to build up the temple of man rather than destructing or deconstructing the temple of man. All right. So please hit the share button. And you know what? Let me do this. I haven't even done this today. So let me quickly go and do this. All right. For those of you as well who are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel down below. Hit the subscribe button. Titans TV, we basically do a lot of conscious lectures, interviews, discussions, and debates. We've actually got those of you who are actually love the debates, we've actually got a debate series which is called Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner, we have Muslims, Christians, atheists, Jews, Jews, Cometians, Kemits, loads of people passing through and debating various different issues. So if you want to support us and you want to see what the UK has to offer, I'm telling you, a lot of people come from all around the world just to go see the debates that takes place at Speaker's Corner. And we've got all of these great debates on film for you to watch absolutely free. So please support the channel, hit the subscribe button and see more of the debates. And of course, we've got the Talk with the Titans series, where we've had the good brother Polight in the studio. We've also had Zion Lex, Seti, who else? Team Osiris, Anka Kek, Gano Grills. We've had Yoruba Ife practitioners come into the studio as well. Who else? We've had Shaka Ahmos as well. Who else we've had? We've had so many different people. Dr. Ali Muhammad, ISUPK, Zion Lex, how can I forget the good brother Lord Abba, Imam Bashir, the beautiful wives of Nasi Yashjovel talking about polygamy. We've had so many great shows on Divine Prospect, Dr. Reggie as well, who's got a debate coming up as well. So please, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button and get in tune with Talk with the Titans or Titans TV and see all the great works that we're pushing over here in the UK. So with no much further ado, I'm going to ask the good brother Harry Rozenberg to please give us your discourse on spiritualism or spirituality found within inside of the Torah.
I appreciate it. And, if anyone does have any other questions, feel free to interject and ask. That's always okay with me. I'd like to just go through, not many, because I could speak for hours and hours on this, just a few core principles of my reality that I've extracted from the Torah that contribute towards my, I believe, connection to the universe. One is obviously the main one, which we believe is the testimony of the Creator. How do we know there's a Creator? What gives His presence in the world? And we believe the day of Shabbat, the day of rest, right? Brother Kalam, what is your impression? Let me ask you a question of the day of Shabbat. What do you feel about it? What do you know about it?
The day of Shabbat, according to the Old Testament, the Torah, is the day that God has ordained for man to rest and keep the land pure and holy and not work it, and to kind of spend time with the family, spend time with the community, and to actually learn from the Torah, learn the wisdom from the Torah, and that's
That's a
that's what I get from it.
that's a great breakdown. But when you actually look at that, if someone applies that to his life, right? So my rabbi taught me you got a cell phone, right? Every day you use your cell phone. At the end of the day, if you don't charge your cell phone, it dies, right? So we believe the soul also needs some type of recharge, right? Because we're stuck in this material world where we got to go through this coarse physical life, dealing with worries and hardships, etc. And if we don't have a way to recharge the soul as well, it can get burnt out and disconnected from its source. So the Shabbat literally is, what am I doing? I'm cooking meals on Thursday. I'm preparing meals on Thursday. Shabbat comes, Friday night comes, we stop doing anything and everything, which means my phones go off. Every light in the house is set the way it is for the next 24 hours. Every single thing is prepared. There's nothing new happening. It's all ready to go. We have a big feast on Friday night after prayers with the community. Everyone goes, you invite friends over, families go eat at each other. You drink wine, you eat food, you sing, you dance, you talk about, insights on that week's portion. You spill your soul out to people at a table. It's really beautiful. After the meal, people get together for desserts at other people's houses. Sometimes everyone goes to the rabbi's house to sing and hear his words of wisdom. So it's this like magical night, Friday night, Shabbat, totally disconnected, totally in a spiritual world, not one worry. My phone is off. You can't call me. You can't text me. I can't touch money. It's all off limits. So it forces my soul to be in such a state of tranquility. You can't get it if you go to the Bahamas on a cruise ship, that level of disconnection. And I'm looking today, maybe Shabbat is even more valuable today than it was 1,000 years ago when people lived in a little village in the hills somewhere. That the possibility and the power to disconnect today is such a hard thing now. Anyone and everyone listening to me, have you ever gone a voluntary day without your phone for 24 hours? You say, today my phone is off. You didn't check your Instagram, you didn't check your email, your Facebook, your text. Can you imagine going 24 hours without doing that? People get stressed out by the idea of that. So that's one thing. Now you got Saturday day, where it's just a day of prayer, feasts. People already cooked food, you're drinking wine, everyone's getting together, is dancing and singing. So you're going through a 24-hour cleanse every single week. And when you come out of that period, you're this new, fresh person. Like you're totally reinvigorated, and you bring that energy into the week. So every single week, you're starting off strong. It's such a strategic thing. If I wasn't religious, I wasn't biblical, I didn't believe in the God of Israel, let's say, I didn't want anything to do with it. If someone suggested to me such a system, and they showed the science behind the benefits of disconnecting for a certain period of time, then I would say, as a futuristic conscious person, I would want to implement this in my life. So I'm very grateful that in my quote unquote religion, there's a built-in period that protects my soul, and it was preserved until today. If you look at what the Romans did when they took over Israel, they said that you guys can't keep Shabbat, right? What kind of thing for a leader, to say that to the people they've conquered? You can't rest on this day, right? There's certain things you could pay these taxes, you got to dress like us, you got to say the national anthem, but to say you can't actively not participate in work on this day. So that's they were trying to hit us on our spiritual essence, trying to disconnect us from the Shabbat, the day of rest, which is the reminder of everything, which reminds us where we come from the creation story, from the Torah. It's really what keeps the people of Israel alive. So I'm very grateful I have it. And we actually say in the future, when the Messiah comes in the Messianic era, every day is like Shabbat. It's a period of time that is Kulo Shabbat, all and only Shabbat. So imagine a period of time where everything is, there's no worries, there's no stresses. So we should believe that that's something we can one day inherit. So the source of my spirituality comes from the fact that I could disconnect one day every week and retune myself to the source from where I came from. That's how I'd like to open this conversation. And it sounds like, we're going to speak about these metaphysical things, floating and levitating, and all that. But no, these are very concrete, simple things that I'm discussing. Just the concept of disconnecting and focusing and community and unity. These aren't things that are out of our reach. So that's I'd like to open the conversation on that note.
Excellent, excellent. I can't wait to hear more, to be honest with you. For those of you who are listening right now, you're loving the information, please give us a big thumbs up. I know there's over 90 of us who is watching right now. So please just give us a big thumbs up. Close to 100 people actually watching right now. So give us a big thumbs up. Let us know that you're loving this information. I want to see likes, to be honest. I want to know that you're appreciating the information that the good brother Harry Rozenberg is delivering to us. Right now it's 1 o'clock in the morning over here in the UK, but I'm sure it's 3 o'clock, 3 a.m. over in Israel right now. So please just show a little bit of appreciation. Let us know that you're actually enjoying the information and you're kind of pumped up to hear more of what the brother has to offer. And how can I even forget? Before I even go any further, please, if you haven't already checked out, you need to go and check out my brother's channel. This is EP Global, brother Stephen Graham. He does phenomenal work. If you're a Hebrew Israelite, I don't know if I'm sure you've seen his documentaries already, but please go and support our brother Stephen Graham. EP Global is his YouTube account. epglobal.com is his website. And of course, I know you've seen these ones before. Hebrew Israelite Proves Israel is in Africa, and the original inhabitants were black. Black Hebrew Israelites and black Arabs are indigenous to the Holy Land, etc., etc. So please check out the good brother's channel, check out his documentary, and obviously please purchase some of these documentaries. It goes a long way because it's not cheap to go to Israel and carry your equipment out there and do the filming and do the editing and do post-production. So please support the brother so he can continue to produce the great work for the community. Yes, brother Harry Rozenberg, the floor is all yours. The floor is all yours. So you know what? Actually, before you actually go into that, I want to know: can the Cometians, the ancient Egyptians? I know this question has been asked so many times, but can the Cometians coincide with the Israelites at the same time, or is there a spiritual drift between the two where those two can't coincide again? You know what? I know the brother Polight said it so many times. You know what? How can I join forces with a God or the people who celebrate the death and murder of African Egyptian children? On one of their most famous, what's the day again? It slipped my mind right now. It's late over here.
Passover.
Sorry?
Passover.
Passover. That's it. Passover, which I believe is coming. It
Right
should be
around the bend at about a month in a week or so.
yeah, it's literally coming up. So this is a time where, Hebrew culture celebrates the death and murder of Egyptian children. Can the Egyptians, or those who purport to be from Kemet, or the upholders of Kemetic wisdom, can they coincide? Can they come back? Can they join forces and join hands with Israelites, even though the Israelites continue to promote and propagate the story of the death and murder of Egyptian children?
That's a great question. First of all, I'd like to touch on that sensitivity. We're not celebrating the death of humans as opposed to the death of an ideology that was not constructive towards a future of humanity. We have to remind ourselves there was cultures back then, even though they were advanced, they were still doing human sacrifice. They needed to appease their gods. They would offer their kids to the gods. They would make their kids walk through fires for initiation rites and stuff. These things existed, and imagine if there was no system that kind of helped eradicate those normalities from the world. we wouldn't have the luxury to have this luxurious conversation on the air right now. There may be someone who declared himself God over us, and he was the one who controlled what we thought and what we knew. So the liberties we have today, we shouldn't take for granted and believe they existed back then, thousands of years ago. Because as advanced as Egypt was, you had to find yourself on the right side of their caste system, on the right side of their royalty system, to have actually enjoyed anything that had to do with their wisdom, which is interesting. So I do think the future though should be nice. I think it's rather silly that we're at terms speaking about these concepts. He's trying to interpret some pictures on a wall, and I got my God, of Israel, and we're putting that at the forefront of our conversation when really there's much bigger issues that affect us as far as our cultures, our geopolitics, the politics of today's societies, how we're living, the deplorable states of certain communities. We should build ourselves out of that using very logical systems of improvement that are before us, and that certain powers to be maybe not be into that, but the people always showing that they have the power when they unite. So first things first is get some order in the world, make sure everyone's healthy, happy, got some food, catch their breath, no more battles, no more politics. After that happens, we could have these conversations on the metaphysics, on is your sun God, is he the real one, or is my God who created the sun the real one? We sound so silly having that conversation when we're in such deplorable states. So I'm willing to have those conversations, but I'm going to hope they shift into what to do going forward.
Definitely, definitely. So yeah, you know what? Continue. The floor is yours. I'm not going to ask no more questions. I'm going to let you just have the floor and really go in right now.
I do appreciate it, and like I said, I hope I don't want to get anyone's hopes up that they think we're going to go into these crazy mystical worlds right now, because everything I'm going to speak about is actually very practical, but it actually affects our state of mind, and our state of mind is a mystical concept in itself. The fact that we may have the power to change reality, alter the future of the world based on our mood, based on our performance, etc. So we're going to speak about very normal things, but have deep implications, and we've been trained not to believe in our own power. So the things I'm going to speak about are about self-empowerment, how to take the human technology of ourselves and bring it to a higher level of functionality. And these are issues that plague our generation. Another one is, besides Shabbat, which seems very basic to me, and is the laws of eating kosher, right? Am I in this, rabbinical jail where these rabbis put me in jail, this Torah put me in jail, where I can't enjoy the foods of the world the way I want to because some ego decided that their cult, says I can or can't eat these certain things? Or actually the things that I can and cannot eat affect my performance and affect my energy in this world? And I believe so. And there's a few different levels to this. First of all, I don't want to step into the area of what your community may call pseudoscience, but we've shown that the nature of how we kill animals, and how they die, greatly affects the quality of their meat. Whether they're rippling certain hormones of fear into their meat, or etc. And when we eat that, we believe on a vibrational, spiritual level, we absorb that fear. We absorb whatever that animal was going through at the end of its life. So just an overhead view, whether I even believe we should be eating meat or not, that's another question. But the nature of how animals were prepared in Torah law makes the animal not feel his pain before, or not even know it's about to happen before it happened. We cut his nerves before his windpipe. But there's actually a revolution today in the kosher world where we're saying that animals aren't even being treated nicely, which could lead to them not even being kosher. So there's the focus on health in my society is extremely, extremely high. Now you look at people in America, even from the consciousness community, they're still going to McDonald's maybe. I grew up on Roy Rogers. My family wasn't so religious, so I understand, what a chicken nugget combo menu could taste like. I felt that as a young child. But actually we're eating poison, and we're eating things with horrible vibrations, and they affect our moods. So now you're having these, as Brother Polight would say, these diatribes or these conversations, and people are getting antsy or emotional, or all these things we're feeling. We don't realize we're pumping ourselves with hormones and all these crazy things from the animals we're eating. That's not regulated. We don't have a checks and balance system to make sure from start to end this is a smooth process. So the fact that I could eat kosher also, like I said, this guy could be driving a Ferrari. I could be in a Toyota, but he's not getting an oil change or his brakes changed. He's squeaking all over the road. I may be doing something better to my engine, getting it tuned up. So what I think is the laws of kosher shouldn't be a Jewish thing. It should be a human thing. We should understand the scientific principles of vibrations in healthy eating and incorporating it to our daily life. So this is like another little thing, and these kind of things all add up. I'm disconnecting for 1 day a week. I'm spiritually aligning myself. I'm not putting poison in my body. When you add all these things up, it equals something, which I'm not putting myself on a pedestal above anyone, but I'm saying, I'm a car who gets his oil changed on time. I'm a car who puts in the right type of gas. I get my brakes squeaked and done. These are things that we need, and when it's found in a society or in our culture, we shouldn't look past it and think that the ego is putting these concepts on us. That's another example. I'm going to go just a few more of just these major principles of my you want quote unquote religion, and show how this is not some type of you know mystical fantasy world I'm living in. This is actually concrete human human structure. Another one, which is a very difficult topic of conversation for men, but I have no problem going there and challenging people, is we believe, the sexual immorality and corruption today is destroying us. So, when I became religious, I was in my young 20s, late teenagehood, years, and a male who wants to be righteous and in the way of the Torah, you don't spill your seed in vain, right? You know what I mean by that. You don't waste your seed of your body for the sake of feeling good. And I believe that's an epidemic today amongst humans, and I believe it's being provoked also. It's being triggered from images and sensory items that make us feel certain ways. But I believe that's a spiritually destructive thing as well. So part of my training, being in a yeshiva studying Torah, actually you spend years fighting that battle of mind control. So if you see someone dressed immodestly or in a modest picture, immediately someone's going to have the image in their mind, and take it to the next level. So I was trained to actually not get phased at all by it. Look at it as a compilation of cells and particles that will age over time, and see it as equal to a tree, as far as it's a molecular, structure. That's one thing. And there's a few analogies you can compare it to. Let's say I have grape juice, right? And every night, me and my friend, every day we squeeze grapes and we fill it up again. But let's say I let that grape juice sit for 30 days, I sprinkle a little yeast into it. All of a sudden, it turns into wine. It gets new properties of ferment. This nature of it changes. So too with our seed, which we say comes from our brain, which is our source of our creativity. When we let that ferment as well and let it sit inside of us and not waste it, it also ferments, and we gain spiritual powers as far as our prayers are able to manifest realities. We could change the current world around us through our prayers, our wants, our desires. Those are all examples of it, and I have a fascinating thing I tell guys, because people in my community genuinely try to battle that, and I don't know if that's happening outside of the community to have sexual purity. Obviously, every man should have his wife and designated times for proper relationships, but outside of that, we got to be ninjas and Jedis with it. Is why do we have this desire to have these thoughts on the other sex, female and males, and do all these lewd actions with each other? And really, it goes down to the fact of what if someone throws something at your face, why are you blinking, right? You blink out of self-preservation. Did you decide to blink? No, you didn't decide to blink. That was subconscious. Your subconscious overrode anything you were thinking and made you blink. So actually, we're built with a lot of self-preservation mechanisms that function on the subconscious. In a ton of them, and one of them is blinking. Another one of them is preserving ourselves through the spreading of our seed, which means if you lived 2,000 years ago, right, and it was desert time, you were only as strong as how many male sons you had with swords who could protect you in your old age, go get food for you, and be loyal to you, right? You were as strong as them. And so the highest form of self-preservation is actually having an army of seed that can take after you. And you look at Genghis Khan, right? He was a perfect manifestation of that. He wanted the whole world to be of his seed because he had that desire of self-preservation. That is the highest level of self-preservation. But now here we are in the year 2016. We got a little more structure. We're not in the deserts. I'm not as strong anymore as how many male sons I have who are trained fighters. That's not what it is anymore. So we still have animal parts, ancient reptilian parts to our brains, which do function in the self-preservation. So anytime a male has a desire to spill his seed or to have a relationship with a woman, is it really that like that's what he really wants, or is his body trying to self-preserve itself and tricking him into feeling good so he can go down that path and do that action to self-preserve himself? So we're really messing with ourselves. There's two us's inside of us. There's this self-preservation, and then there's spirit, which can be enjoy this world. So what part of my training and with through studying Torah and the spiritual teachings was how to override and conquer that dragon voice inside of my head. And then, I'm not going to call myself a hedonist, but I do enjoy the pleasures of this earth and learn how the greatest pleasures of this earth are actually through purity and through the refinement of the soul. So I would call myself happier and enjoying myself, on this earth more than almost all my contemporaries, based on the fact of, the level of Jedihood that I'm trying to conduct with my with myself in that regard. So it's not an easy battle. I understand where we're coming from, the movies, and all these things. But for anyone who heard what I said, take those words seriously, because there's you could send high fives for the future you, and you'll receive them. Be very grateful for certain things you did to prepare for future states of mind. We're living in our head anyway. You're going to be in your head for the next 70, 80 years, right? We may as well make the ride make the good place. You find out this is your apartment for the next 80 years. You're not going to go fix up other people's apartments. You're going to go take care of your place. So if we're going to be in our head, I recommend everyone do things strategically to make that ride enjoyable.
Definitely, definitely, I agree with you on that statement there. You know what? I don't know whether we should get it in yet. I don't know whether we should get it in yet, because a lot of people want to have a conversation with you, Rabbi Harry. But I don't know. I don't know. You let me know if you would like to have them in to have a conversation with you. Just let me know if you would like that to take place.
Yeah, that's fine with me. It's conversation never hurts. It's a beautiful thing.
Great. And you know what? I want to know actually what. All right. I'm gonna be flying out from the UK to come over to the US, New York. You're flying out all the way from Israel to come to New York. All right. What? How? See, this is a difficult question. What have you got in store for us? What have you got in store for us? Let us know what exactly, like, pump us up a little bit. Let me know what have you got in store for us, because I know you've got some groundbreaking information that you're going to impart on us on that day. But I just want to have a little snippet. I want something that will just tantalize my taste buds right now. So could you give us a little something, a little droplet of what you've got actually in store for us?
Yeah, I don't blame you for going there. And the truth is, for the last few months, I've been on a few of these different platforms, giving my opinion and having these conversations. And intentionally, I've never even ventured into the topics that I'm really, that we're really going to have to dive into. You can say whether it's on purpose or not, and we never got there. I'd like to say, because of the shock value, I can't really pre-release any of it. But between us, we should know that it's going to be overhead view of past, present, and future, right? And each of those things we have topics to discuss, right? So if you're speaking about the past, we have the Egyptian Israelite thing, sciences, and so I believe that there's secrets involved there that amongst the Jewish people we're not discussing as a nation, and amongst the consciousness movement they're not discussing. So I'll just give a few overhead topics. It definitely involves the concepts of the third eye, access to technology that's actually inside of our, which people may not even know about, but that's going to be the future term, the keyword of the future. Now we got also the present, which as you mentioned before, you have this 1% conspiracies. Are people doing things based on the self? Is there other occult systems in practice? And so being privy to who I am in my life, I was able to witness certain information and catch certain parts of the story that aren't public information. So I'm definitely going to reveal. So I know all spectrums of the sides who have opinions on these matters are going to appreciate that. So we're going to go heavy. It's going to be real heavy on that. I know how to express some words words, because this is what all histories are like at this, culminating point of all things where we're like bubbling over. Is there going to be a third world war? Is the economy going to crash? Who's crashing it? Who's financing things? All these questions are so intense and so heavy, and we're like at the peak of it, and we're going to go in there and we're going to dissect it and we're going to break it down, and we're going to have concrete steps about what to do about it going forward. There's not going to be any confusion. There shouldn't be any hate. There should just be like total understanding of what we need to do about anything and everything we thought was wrong. And you know what? There's only one way to. If anyone has a problem, or say what this guy just said is not true, and this is not what he's saying is. Bring it up. Let's talk about it. This is the one opportunity we're going to have to put all truths on the table. Your community, my community, quote unquote, coming together. My people watching, your people watching. This should be on, I believe, on the level of these presidential debates, because what they're not discussing, what they should be discussing, Brother Polight and I will be discussing. So it's going to go 0 to 60. Very heavy.
Yeah. I can't wait for this. So you know what? Those of you who've been asking me for the link, that link has actually been there at the bottom. If you go down right now, go down in the description box. If you go down now, description box, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, you will see it says panel link. If you click on that, the panel link will take you in to this live hangout right now. Obviously, it's only going to be on whilst we are on live, and obviously a little about an hour or so afterwards, we're going to have an after show discussion as well. So if you want to have an after show discussion, click on the link and join in the panel real quickly. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe so you'll be constantly updated on the future shows that we've got coming up. We've actually got Charles Finch, I believe that's his name, Charles Finch, who's coming in from the USA to the UK. He's a great scholar. He's rubbed shoulders with the likes of Recheti Amen, rubbed shoulders with the likes of Anthony Browder. He's a phenomenal scholar, and he'll be coming over to the UK to do some lectures and to do some workshops, and we should be hosting him when he comes down this week. So he'll be coming down from the 17th, actually, from the Thursday, the 17th, Friday onwards. He'll be doing his workshop. So if you're over here in the UK, look forward and look out for that. We've also got him coming on the show whilst he's actually still over in America on the Sunday evening. So tune in for that show as well. And if you would like to be on the panel, let me know if you would like to be on the panel. Simply join the socials that are down below in the description box to join in to have more discussions with me. Inbox me and let me know if you would like to be on the upcoming panel discussions as well. So if you want to join in and have a conversation with the brother Harry Rozenberg right now, before we end the show, go down into the description box in the and you'll find a panel link. If it's not showing up right now, literally refresh your page and you will see it in the description box right now. Join in and have your say with the Rabbi Harry Rozenberg. Is it Kufu, if you're there? And if you've got any questions, please let me know. Okay. Yeah, Rabbi, I'm going to give it back to you. We've got a few more minutes left before we close out the show. So if you would like to just continue, and then afterwards we'll close out.
Yeah, sure thing. It's definitely an honor. I mean, we've covered a few topics today. We spoke about, we're trying to bring a little heat to the scene, what people can expect, and I'm trying to write a fine line of not giving too much information, but letting people know that they should definitely be tuned in to get the full blast. So we kind of covered that. We went through some spiritual topics today of what the Torah is really about, and how it can implement them in my lives and how people can implement them in their lives. So we covered a little bit about that. If I give a summary of this whole thing, I'd let people know that, just from my point of view, I'm coming from a good place, and I want to return to a good place. So I think there's just a lot of hate still in the community, but I'm not judging that hate. I understand that geopolitics, the political situation today is providing that, but we all need to come in with an open mind right now and understand that everyone's saying last thing we need is a white man to come and give us a plan, or every time that happened it didn't work. So I'm not coming here to say I'm up here, you're down here, and here's my suggestion. I'm trying to say that the future should be through equality. So it's not going to be about one man higher than the other. The indigenous race versus not the indigenous race, the white man versus not the white man. That's not going to be terms of the future. So I'm hoping that people can, come into this whole scenario open-minded and really walk away saying there's something we can implement. So from my heart, I'm coming out there and letting everyone know I have good intentions here, and I wasn't looking for this. I was enjoying my life. Thank God. I'm very grateful for that. But at the state of the world today, I feel the need to come out and speak about certain things and see how we could rally up the troops.
Definitely, definitely. And you know what? We've actually still got a book giveaway. I'm almost nearly completely forgot about the book giveaway. We've got the Comedic Arcana coming out by the brother Polight. I think I'm going to give away this book live on air on the Sunday. On the Sunday when we've got Charles Finch, or Professor Charles Finch, should I say, coming in on the Sunday. I'm going to give away the book then. So what it is basically is for those people who have shared the link, for those people who continue to share the link, not just sharing it once, but continue to share it 10 times plus, you know what, they will definitely receive a signed copy of the Comedic Arcana Volume 2 by the brother Polight. And I will be definitely giving away or telling you who the winner is for that on that day. So if you still want to win Brother Polight's book, Comedic Arcana Volume 2, and see his work, see his publication, signed publication, please share this link and share any other future links and past links of Talk with the Titans. Of course, I can see these things via the YouTube analytics, via the Google, and via Facebook, and wherever else you send it. I can see where it's embedded into websites, etc. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on to see who's actually sending the links out. So please share the links and let everybody know about Talk with the Titans. Help us to grow so we can actually do bigger and greater things. So yeah, definitely help us out if you can. I want to check here. We've got actually, where is he? We have
Can you
got
see me?
Gorilla Hebrew. Is he there?
You can see me? You hear me?
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
You can't see me? Well, at least you can hear me. That's what's important.
Okay. Wait, one second. Can anybody else on the panel hear Gorilla Hebrew?
No, I can't hear him.
I hear him.
Okay, cool. For some strange reason, you're not showing, but everybody else can hear you. So that's great. So yeah, if you've got your question, please ask away.
Can Harry hear me? Because that's why I got the question.
No, I can't. I still can't hear him.
Gorilla Hebrew? Could you ask your question and mute your mic, please?
Just ask my question and mute my mic?
Yep.
Hold on one second.
Okay. Can you ask your question?
Hold on. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. If the rabbi can't hear you, I will reiterate your question to him.
All right, that worked for me. Okay. All right. So my question is, in the book of Isaiah, the 42nd chapter, and the reason I'm asking this question is because my understanding of this scripture and the data that I'm going to present, I believe substantiates us as Hebrews and disqualifies them as Hebrews, just for the record. So, Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, or spoil, and none saveth. So, with that in mind, maximum security prisons in the United States have relatively few Jewish inmates, according to the Aleph Institute, a Chabad-affiliated organization that reaches out to Jews behind bars. There are over 2 million people in United States jails, which is 25% of the world's prisoners. Of those 2 million, 60% are black and Latino. So with that in mind, when we take a look at prophecies that say that Israelites will be in prison in the latter days in oppression. The fact that so few so-called Jewish people are in prison and so many so-called black people are in prison, how do you go about saying that, yeah, some of us are Israelites, but they're Israelites too?
Okay, Harry, were you able to hear that at all, or would you like me to kind of say it again to you?
I did not hear a word of it. I'm not sure even the audience heard it, but if you could repeat it, it'd be great.
Okay, I believe it's there's a particular passage in Isaiah 42. Um, correct me if I'm wrong. But I think he's basically saying that that particular verse discounts the fact or kind of refutes the fact that you or your people are being the original Hebrew Israelites or the original Israelites. And he went in to talk about the amount of people that are in captivity in terms of the prison system. The Latinos and blacks are a considerably high proportion of Latinos and blacks who are in the incarceration, who are incarcerated right now. Could you just continue? Could you just, yeah? Could you, are you there?
Yeah, I got this. I mean, there's so many, non-solid foundations to a lot of these questions. So we got to come back to the foundations. First of all, I'm wondering what this brother would say to someone in the time of Esther, who's part of the 127 nations who became Yehudim. It says out of the fear of the Yehudim, and this was at the time of prophecy already, where there were prophets of Israel, people joining the people of Israel. Would we have a brother here now point the finger and say to someone, "You are not of the original Israelites," and get angry at them and call them
Harry? Harry, are you there? I'm not too sure if everybody else can hear him, but I can't at the moment. Kufu, can you hear him? Okay. Well, I'm assuming that we're having some form of technical difficulties, because I don't know, the sounding is gone. But if you would like to actually join in and take part in the after show discussion, please go literally right down in the description box. There is the link to join the after show, the after link panel discussion which will be taking place. So just literally click onto it right now. But I'm about to close out the show. Harry, are you there?
Yeah, you hear me now?
Harry, are you there?
Yes, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, I don't know what happened. We got disconnected.
Okay, I think you're a bit choppy at the moment. But I'm literally about to close out the show. I don't know if you've got any last words that you would like to give to the audience members.
I'm not sure. Did I get cut off on my last answer to the question about Isaiah?
Yes, you did.
Rabbi, I don't know if anybody else can hear you.
But right now,
anybody else right now, you're the only person I can hear.
Right now, you are very, very choppy.
That's strange. Says I got good service. Am I still choppy?
No, you're coming through clear, but nobody else is showing as even active right now. Titans left the call. I still see Gorilla. Titans joined the call. All right, it's Kalam. And yeah, you did get cut off in your answer though.
Okay, we're all back together here.
So if you
Okay.
Kalam, you hear it?
Yep, we're back.
All right.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was in the middle of giving the answer on Isaiah 42, so I was cut off a little bit. So just basically, just a quick summary. There was 2 points to my answer. Is what would these individuals say to the people who as in the book of Esther it says they became Yehudim, they joined the people of Israel from Africa to India. Would they point the finger at them and say they're not the real children of Israel? Then what were they if the verse says that they joined the children of Israel? So being part of the house of Israel has nothing to do with being the original bloodline of the people of Israel. As I've shown that this joining of the nation happened at the time of prophecy. This was a legitimate move that wasn't denied.
Eric,
Second, yes.
but just so we understand, my question is about who are the actual flesh and bloodline descendants of Israel, not people who have made converted or joined the house of Israel. That's why I was so instrumental in the question.
Right. So then I would say back to you. So now, if we get to that, what would the implications be? Then what?
Well, it would substantiate that your people, in fact, are not the people who have the lineage that goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
But I thought we just agreed that that's almost irrelevant based on the historical texts.
I didn't agree to any such thing.
Oh, okay, so let's break it down again right now. So now we have the book of Esther where you have people from Africa to India. It says Mit Yahadim, they became Yehudim, and this was at the time of prophecy, and they weren't, no one separated them from the children of Israel going forward. So now, but you're coming into the picture and you're saying there's a separation.
Quick question, though.
Please.
Does the name of the Most High appear in the book of Esther?
Not once.
Not once. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Now, again, with that being said, that doesn't answer the question that I'm asking. I'm talking about the people who are the direct descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That anything outside of that is an entirely different conversation. Now, again, the question I asked because you didn't hear me was that the Bible says, the Torah, the Tanakh rather says, that the people of Israel, the actual flesh and blood descendants, would be hid in prison houses. I then showed the numbers that shows that disproportionately blacks and Hispanics are incarcerated, and Jewish people are some of the least incarcerated people on the planet Earth. So all I'm doing is substantiating the lack of credibility towards the argument that you, in fact, are an actual natural flesh and blood descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that we are. That's what I'm saying.
Well, based on your level of scholarship, you're going to have to prove that the verses that you're bringing up to the table imply that whole entire house of Israel is experiencing what you're saying, 100% of them, which means the tribes of Joseph who went into the Far East, the tribes who potentially, scattered to the four corners of the earth are in this 100% situation, or is there a remnant of the house of Israel in the situation that you're speaking about? So you're not going to only have to say your opinion, you're going to have to show from the Hebrew words how you've come to that conclusion that 100% of the people are in this scenario.
Well, it's talking about the nation of Israel as a whole. That's the context, as you know, of many of the latter chapters of the book of Isaiah dealing with prophecies that would befall the nation as a whole in totality in the latter days.
I would disagree. I would say a lot of them speak about individual entities like the house of Israel and the house of Judah, which will one day reunite, meaning that they're separate, not in the same category. I would say it speaks specifically sometimes about Ephraim, separate from the other tribes. So every tribe's kind of got their own little thing. Even Jacob gives 12 different blessings to his children, what's going to be of them. So really the work is on you to show from the Hebrew scriptures how 100% of the people of Israel are experiencing the terms and conditions you're discussing, which I'm not saying is not false, that the people you're discussing are the people of Israel, but I cannot agree that you can prove that it is exclusive to them. And if you do look at Jewish history, they were far from comfortable for the last 2,000 years, meaning our ancestors couldn't own land and couldn't do most things that other citizens could. We were the lowest class of society where there was regular pogroms and rapes and etc. So we had it pretty bad as well.
Based upon that, can I ask a question?
Hold on, my brother.
Just real quick. All right.
Hold on 1 second. So if there's anybody else who actually wants to ask any more questions, please let me know, because I'm going to be closing out the show very shortly. So if you've got a question that you would like to ask on air live and you haven't already asked the question, please let me know. Brother Reggie?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right. To Rabbi, peace. I have a couple of quick questions. what we believe is that where Polight is going to show very well in this debate is that there is a record in America of black people studying the Torah, and I'm talking about Rabbi Wentworth Matthews and the Commandment Keepers, and they until his almost the end of his life, he was accepted as a teacher. He was never ever given a certification to be a rabbi from the Jewish community. He instead got certification from Africans from a collection of Africans in Ethiopia led by Josiah Ford to become a rabbi. This commandment keepers, for us, the people who actually have tried any of the path that you're talking about, failed miserably. And so we don't see what you're talking about open to our community and for those who wanted to try, who were interested, because Rabbi Wentworth and the Commandment Keepers has the longest effort in America actually communicating and working with you. And I would give you the name of, I'm trying to give you the name of the one rabbi. There was a newspaper clipping saying that he was finally accepted as if that was some type of award. His name was Rabbi Chaim Rabinovich. Are you familiar with him? He is of the Beth Israel. There was a clipping saying that he was finally.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I heard your question. You know, it's definitely a great question, and definitely and you know, I'm familiar with the rabbi you're speaking about of the Commandment Keepers, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for it. And you know, you're dealing at a time. If you look what else was going on in the world and where we are today, there was a lot of progression. So too, the same way, you know, there was misconceptions about who was the people of Israel, and there was still race, you know, identities amongst the cultures. We've evolved today. Now, if you look today, there's a complete evolution to this conversation. If there's even an example, there's a news station on Facebook coming from Israel called Israel Rising, and the last few weeks they've been speaking exclusively almost about the Igbo tribes in Nigeria, the African diaspora of Judah, the implications of it, you know, how we're weighing in on it, and there's a complete and total revolution going on from the people on the ground in Israel, looking to bring in and unite with their people who have this identity, which, you know, is new for people. When I speak about this concept to my fellow Jewish brethren, they weren't told about this, but once they hear about it, they're actually very excited about it. So there's got to be a level where we're giving out information about this and moving forward. So what was in the past is not a roadmap for what to do going forward. But I do believe that the rabbis you mentioned from your community were great men who could have been tremendous leaders of the people of Israel, and I'm sure more of their likes will surface and emerge, and it'll be great unity. And that's the direction we're heading in.
Okay, so the only other point that I would say is that where Polight is going to do very, very well against you is that this is still your community led. This is not led. Give me a lead chief rabbi who is of African descent that you can talk about in Israel that works with the houses that you say that go all the way back to the teachings of Moses. So that string of rabbis that you are talking about, give me one of African descent, right? That you can speak of.
Great question. If you look at that transmission, you see there were a lot of them in northern Africa, as far as Morocco, even in Egypt. You had people, I don't know if they're necessarily born there, but you had Maimonides and what was called the Arizal. You could Google their names. Tremendous pillars on the transmission who were in Egypt, Morocco, and other areas of North Africa, Libya. I don't have any examples on this chain of individuals in Nigeria, which doesn't mean that they weren't Israelites there, just doesn't mean that they were connected to this transmission of Torah, which went from Israel to Babylon, to the Mediterranean, to Italy, to Spain, up into Germany, into the Americas. It's not an exclusive chain, but it is one of many chains. I would say if anyone does have any other examples of where the oral and written law was preserved in sub-Saharan Africa, I'd be fascinated to learn about it. You do see certain cultures like the Ashanti, which does have the breastplate of the high priest, and the Igbo tribe, which their whole entire culture has tons of similarities with Mosaic law. So that is fascinating, but I'm still searching for where to see this transmission of Torah law. So we don't want to rule it out, but I haven't seen it in sub-Saharan Africa yet.
Okay, so be prepared, because this is where Polight will slam you, because there has been intolerance. And though you were saying that it has changed, we find it differently when we find the other Israelite schools who inherited the commandment keepers. Still, the Israelite, for example, the Israelite Academy, and it changed to, I think, to something like the Israelite Rabbinical Academy, and still they have, not to say that we need your acceptance from the house. The contradiction that we are talking about, even that Guerrilla Hebrew is talking about, is that your houses are actually closed unless you pick and choose who you want to work with. And so I would just say be very, very, very prepared, because the record is clear here from us in the United States that it has been intolerance, and I don't think mere words can clear that up. So good luck, but it is going to be tough with Brother Polight, because he is a good student of this information.
I appreciate that heads up. Well, the great thing is I'm not going to be up there defending the Jewish people. I'm going to be up there defending the Torah. So where there's cases where rebuke is needed on the Jewish people, we can expose that and have that conversation. But there will be no faults found within the Torah. That'll be for sure.
Okay, thank you. And if there's anybody else who hasn't already spoken to get their last question in. Anybody else? Okay, excellent. Harry, we're going to actually go a little bit extra and have an after show discussion with the brothers who are actually on the panel right now. But I actually want to close off the show. I'm pretty sure we've actually hit the 2-hour mark, or shortly about to hit the 2-hour mark. So I definitely do want to close off the show. We've got the debate taking place March the 20th, the Day of Atonement. The Day of Atonement. This is going to be a powerful debate that's going to be taking place on the 20th of March. 20th of March. And if you want to buy the tickets to actually view it via the pay-per-view, or to actually go there and see it live in person, literally visit the 2012stores.com and purchase your tickets on there. And of course, we're going to actually have a next debate that's going to be taking place in April with our brother Dr. Reggie and Sharif Bey. Reggie, could you just give us a brief information on that debate that's going to be taking place in April?
Sure, it's going to be another historical debate on April 10th, hosted by our Sarnetta House of Consciousness, where we go to another group of people who say they derive from, who's a neighbor of yours, Rabbi Harry Rozenberg. These are the Moabs. These are the people who descend from, who say they're in America and they descend from Moab through Canaanite to Moab, to Morocco, to blacks. Not blacks, because they don't call themselves blacks, but to Moors in America. So we are going to deal with a group of people who at first had their deity as Chemosh, and there is a record of Moab and Israel. So to the listening audience, this is going to be a very very historic debate, again with primaries, and this is an issue of this debate and your debate too, Rabbi Harry Rozenberg, that what's on the table is not what you say, but actually primaries. So they, like you, will have to show, you say that there's a Torah record, and we know that there's conversations until Kemet, or what you know as Egypt, or Mizraim ended, that there is a continuous record of communications. And wait, can I ask you one question, Harry? One
Yes,
other
please.
question. The Torah was written in what language, or what languages?
I mean, the Torah was given, we would say, in the Hebrew language.
It was given in. So in Babylon, you spoke Hebrew.
They were speaking Aramaic.
They were speaking Aramaic. So was the Torah in Aramaic?
Well, there was definitely an Aramaic translation to the Torah. The Torah was actually translated by Moses to many languages, but it was given in Hebrew. But yeah, it was.
And Moses spoke what language as his first language?
I mean, we believe he had access to the Hebrew language. You know, as we know, we believe he said the name of God. He knew the name of God to kill that Egyptian. So he must have had access to the Hebrew language. But I'm sure Moses spoke. He must have spoke Egyptian. He must have spoke many languages. Maybe he communicated with the Midianites in their own language as well. I'm sure he was a great politician with Ethiopian languages as well.
Because we know that there's a clear record from the Armada letters that the people of Kemet, the Remet, was writing in cuneiform to the people in Canaan, and we know of the Apiro. So we know that cuneiform, not anything else, was alive at that period. So to say he had access to Hebrew would be interesting, because Hebrew derives from Phoenician, or you're going to say Phoenician derives from Hebrew. You see, it all derives from ancient Egypt. It's a script of ancient Egypt. So you still say that Moses had access to a language that we know wasn't even created or written at that time.
Well, the nature of Hebrew, as you can even see today amongst certain Jewish traditions, is a very sacred language, which is not designed to have been carved on stone or written for naught. It has a lot of powers to it. So even today, there's certain cultures of Jewish people who won't speak in Hebrew, and they write in this type of script that's not Hebrew, not to profane it. The only time you'll see Hebrew is in a Torah scroll. So, you know, that's when you see Daniel with the writing on the wall. No one understood what was on the wall, but Daniel understood it because he actually knew the pure Hebrew language, which we take for granted today that we believe is available. So it's very interesting. So you're right, you know, is it Egypt, is it Phoenician, is it Hebrew? It's the original language. So I'm going to show at the debate that it's actually the blueprint of the universe, that all science and math are found within these letters. So no one's going to be left without a shadow of a doubt that we're not going to have to look, you know, to dig up under the ground to prove it, yes or no. We'll see it right in front of our eyes. So we're not going to let archaeology, a small thing, knock out the Hebrew language, which is a very big thing.
Excellent.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank
Please,
you.
please, brother.
And you know what, Zion Lex, if you're listening right now, please join in the after show conversation. I want you to actually have some type of dialogue with the good brother Gorilla Hebrew, because that is one debate that I would definitely want to see. A debate between Zion Lex and Gorilla Hebrew. That would be a formidable debate between these two titans. If you think the same way that I'm thinking right now, please hit me up with a 1 down below. Hit me up with a 1 down below, and let me know if you are sharing my thoughts. So you know what? I'm actually going to sign out right now. You know what? I'm going to sign out, as nobody really wants to hear, but I'm actually going to sign out right now because we've reached the end of the show. And of course, we're going to have Professor Charles Finch coming in on the Sunday. Of course, we're going to have some more discussions taking place next week before the debate takes place. And of course, I'm going to try my very best to give you some live exclusives whilst at the debate. Actually, let me just say hopefully, because I still haven't sorted out my business yet. I got so much business that I'm supposed to handling before I go, so I shouldn't even be saying that. So once that's sorted, I'm gonna let you lot know that I'm flying out, and it's gonna be I'm gonna be enjoying this. So yeah, I'm signing out right now, and just join in the after show discussion panel. We're gonna have so much fiery discourses taking place. We've got the Magi with us. We've got Dr. Reggie with us. We've got Gorilla Hebrew with us. We've got Rabbi Harry Rozenberg with us. We've got so many different people within the Concerts community. So if you want to join this discussion with all the Titans, please hit up the link and join in. Otherwise, just go to the Talk with the Titans page on Facebook, and I'm sure I will send you the link on there as well. Okay, so I'm signing out. Peace.